owned strips and owners not coordinating necessary property updates. The applicant currently operates an existing motorcycle repair business in unincorporated Will County. He desires to purchase the subject property and operate his business within the city of Lockport. The applicant recognizes staff's parking concerns and is actively seeking quotes for repairs and/or replacement of the lot. The repairs would be completed as weather permits, however, no later than June 1st of 2023. Staff strongly encourages a parking strategy for a common shared parking lot amongst all property owners sharing the lot, but it is recognized that the other owners need to proactively participate, which is not something that Mr. Weiss can control. The property is zoned C2 Community Commercial. Motorcycle repair is classified as a special use under auto repair within the C2 district. The applicant would like to include future motorcycle and ATV sales, as well as indoor motorcycle storage for riders primarily during winter months. Each of these uses is considered a special use within the C2 district. However, one special use permit would be crafted under a unique use to accommodate the applicant's business needs while still providing assurance to the city that the business will be operated in an orderly fashion. Furthermore, conditions such as additional standards and criteria will apply for outdoor display and vehicle sales. According to the applicant, the repair shop will have a total of 8 workstations, a showroom, and customer waiting room. A narrative describing a business plan was provided by the applicant, which states that there are 5 part-time employees currently with part-time hours of 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. The narrative states that the intent is to expand personnel and hours of operation to 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. Special use permit for a unique use. This special use does not run with the land and shall only apply to the current owner. The Plan and Zoning Commission shall provide recommendation to the City Council based on the following standards. A special use permit shall be granted only if evidence is presented to establish the following. A, the proposed use at the particular location requested is necessary or desirable to provide a service or facility which is in the interest of the public and will contribute to general welfare of the neighborhood or community. Staff finds that the proposed business or use could be a benefit to the surrounding community. The applicant currently operates in unincorporated Will County and serves the Lockport area, but is outgrowing his current location because of the business growth. He intends to fill a demonstrated need for motorcycle repair within the community. B, the proposed use will not have a substantial adverse effect upon the adjacent property, the character of the neighborhood, traffic conditions, utility facilities, and other matters affecting public health, safety, and general welfare. Staff finds that the use should not have adverse effect upon adjacent property. The motorcycles will be repaired indoors, reducing the noise level. Additionally, as a condition of approval, the proposed use will be subject to the standards and criteria established for sales and display, similar to the used auto sales standards. The standards are designed to eliminate circulation and parking conflicts by establishing display requirements. And C, the proposed building or use will be designed, arranged, and operated so as to permit the development and use of the neighboring property in accordance with the applicable district regulations. The motorcycle repair use should not hinder the development of neighboring properties, nor shall it impact opportunity for future businesses within the existing development. As a condition of use, designated testing areas and display areas shall be subject to buffer requirements as deemed necessary by the Community and Economic Development Director. Standards for unique uses. The applicant is prepared to answer additional questions for standards for unique use as follows. A, proof of special and extraordinary need for the unique use, which shall include proof of unique characteristics of the subject property, proposed use, and/or the neighborhood surrounding the subject property, and B, proof that the unique use will be of some affirmative benefit from a land use and economic standpoint to the surrounding properties and neighborhood. There's no new development currently, and the city engineering staff has no comment at this time. Fire and Building also performed a review. The Lockport Fire District did not provide comment. However, the City of Lockport building official provided comment that the building will need fire sprinklers due to the proposed use and size of the building. The applicant has been made aware of the requirements and has agreed to provide sprinklers via a tank system given the lack of public water line along Archer. Displayed is a view from North State Street. And finally, the motion. Should the commission find the special use permit for a unique use to allow motorcycle repair shop with sales and indoor storage acceptable, the following motion is suggested. A motion to adopt the findings of facts as presented to recommend the approval of the special use permit for a unique use to allow a motorcycle repair shop with sales and indoor storage of motorcycles within the C2 district with the following conditions. 1, a new business permit will be needed from the city's building department. 2, all repair activities shall take place within an enclosed building. 3, inoperable motorcycles or any other inoperable vehicles shall not be stored outside of the building. Expansion beyond the existing building and designated display area shall not occur. This could result in revocation of the special use permit. 5, additional standards and criteria as follows will apply for outdoor display and vehicle sales. All vehicles have to be displayed in an orderly fashion. Cars need to be in striped spaces. Motorcycles and other vehicles that are stored on the property shall be in good condition with no visible damage. Vehicles shall not occupy a parking space reserved for persons with disabilities defined under the Illinois Vehicle Code. There shall be no string pennant flags or similar flags or banners as advertisement displayed outside. The special use shall not run with the land, and any transfer or sale of the property or the business shall require a public hearing and an affirmative approval from the City Council for the continuation of such special use. Areas utilized for testing, display, etc., shall be subject to screening, buffering, design standards as deemed reasonably necessary by the Director of Community and Economic Development or his or her designee to protect the character of the surrounding properties and the community. 6, vehicle display will need to be located within a designated area and shall not hinder the general circulation of the retail center. 7, the existing condition of the parking lot is in poor disrepair. The parking lot will need to be resurfaced with new surface course, restoration or pour subbase included, striping and curbs prior to June 1st, 2023. Provide the city with a new layout for the lot as a part of your building permit prior to starting construction once ready to move forward. 8, the parking lot and premises shall be operated in an orderly manner within the parameters of the special use permit and shall be maintained in accordance with city code. 9, certain parking lot landscaping requirements could apply. The applicant shall work with planning staff at the time of parking lot improvements. Landscaping can be required inside the parking area and around the edges per the landscape ordinance found in the development code. 10, the existing monument sign that is located within the State Street right-of-way will need to be relocated and constructed within the property boundary. A shared multi-tenant sign is encouraged if other tenants agree. This will need to be constructed by or before June 1st, 2023. Proposed signage would require separate sign permit. This will become a condition. New signage will need to adhere to the city's sign code. A separate permit that shall be submitted and approved for all new signage. Dumpsters will need to be screened in accordance With the city code, details of an enclosure are required prior to construction as part of the building permit. Vinyl or wood fence material are suitable given its location. 12, upon approval of a special use permit, a building permit will be required for interior and exterior remodel and renovation. And 13, outdoor surfaces should be lit appropriately. Any new outdoor lighting shall be reviewed and approved by the city. The applicant is here this evening to answer questions, and this concludes staff's analysis.
Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you. Is there anyone here from the public wish to speak on this matter? First, we have a letter from, let me see here, Baum. I don't know if it's Baum Development or what. Everyone has this letter. Kimberly, would you read that letter, please?
This is a letter that was written by a neighboring property who was unable to attend the meeting tonight. The author of the letter is out of town and unavailable. To whom it may concern, please accept this letter in absence of the owner of the neighboring property, 900 to 930 North State Street and 610 Mary Knoll, who is not able to attend the hearing regarding the special use permit request for a motorcycle shop at 948 North State Street. Lockport sent to property owners within 250 feet of 948 North State. The proposed motorcycle shop draws concern of noise disturbance for neighboring businesses. Some of the nearest businesses to the proposed motorcycle shop location are a full day Montessori school and a child trauma therapy center. Ownership is concerned how the noise generated from motorcycles will affect neighboring businesses, especially those require a quiet environment. The Montessori school creates a home-like environment. Students work in 3-hour uninterrupted work cycles and utilize the 2 acres of wooded lot owned by the neighboring property at 900 to 930 North State and 610 Mary Knoll, located behind the proposed motorcycle shop for hands-on learning. Likewise, Kids Above All helps children facing poverty, violence, and injustice to heal and become independent adults. Creating a peaceful environment is vital to the healing process. We ask the City of Lockport to take into consideration how noise generated by the proposed motorcycle shop will affect the neighboring programs already established. Thank you for your consideration. Caitlin Thurham, Property Manager of Baum.
Thank you. I mean, just speaking of this letter, the original content of the special use permit is their hours are going to be 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. But as Lance is saying, as they expand down the road, that this would interfere possibly with the school or something, even though it's at the other end of the shopping center. But so everyone's aware of that. Okay. Any questions or comments from the commissioners?
Since we're here to kind of work for the public, I'd like to just ask them to respond to the letter from the neighboring concerns. Our concerns are kind of secondary to the rest of the community, so if someone from the submitting group would like to come up and just answer about the noise and what their thoughts are regarding the neighbors' concerns, and then I think we could move on after that to our concerns.
Thank you, Aaron. Good evening. Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Nathan Weiss, 17358 West 147th Street, Lockport.
Could I have you raise your right hand, please? Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
So as for the noise, all our repairs are done inside of the building, so there won't be any noise outside. And we plan on putting a privacy fence on the back side of the property to keep the school from coming onto their property anyway.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant?
Thank you for that answer. I wanted to make sure the public's comments were addressed first. I'll let any of the other commissioners start with their own questions.
Well, I have some comments, but I don't know if the applicant is going to be able to answer some of my questions. The question that concerned me, I love the concept, you guys coming here, and I wish that, just tomorrow you guys could open up. But my interest is in the fire and building review where the Lockport Fire District did not provide comment. And I understand that our city building official did tell you that you needed to go ahead and have a fire suppressor system in there. But I'd really like to hear from the fire district before, and I think that would be important for the applicant to go forward, because I would hate to have you go ahead and purchase this building only to find out that the fire district is not going to approve this type of a tank system.
So I can respond to that. The fire district is part of all of our pre-application meetings as well as our reviews, and we do have a number of tank systems in the city already that he checks regularly as a part of our normal sprinkler system checks throughout the community. He has given them full approval of that type of a system and has a list of contractors that install those types of systems that they maintain at the fire district.
Okay, so am I correct in believing that the current water there is well? Where do they get the water?
So it is a well system. There's a little bit of an odd situation that our water department has a little bit of difficulty understanding. There is a private service line that runs along the west side of only a portion of the buildings. There's a fire hydrant out in front of the Montessori school. We've had our folks go out and look at it. It is certainly not a public line. We don't know when it was installed. We don't know who it actually serves. So that is some level of investigation that we are going to do. It's likely not owned by anybody on the north side of the development for sure, because it doesn't run in front of their properties. There may be an opportunity that they could work with whoever the actual owner is to be able to extend it up to theirs so that they could use that water service as a part of their sprinkler system. But the fire chief is okay with either system.
So to the best of our knowledge is that this private water line is not supplying water to this building.
No, it would not. It does not extend onto these properties because there are 3 separate pins between this building or this applicant's what they've requested and where that hydrant is at.
Is there water bills? What buildings in that complex get a water bill?
Well, they wouldn't because it's a private line.
Okay, which leads
From
to,
our
We
water
don't
system?
know if it goes from our water system or is connected to a well. It's
well, I'm fairly certain it comes from our water system because
could very well.
Because we can actually see the water line on the south side of Mary Knoll that goes from the hydrant down to the corner of the Villanova property. You can see where it was cut
That's
across.
That's an 8-inch water main on Mary Knoll.
Okay.
171.
Okay, and then we can actually, if we go on Google Earth, you can actually see the outline. You can see where the line goes and takes it over to Hollingsworth Candy. So I would prefer that we find out whether or not somebody finds out whether or not this potential owner, Mr. Weiss and his company, somebody would need to go ahead and find out whether or not they could tap on to that system. I would think it's best for the next 25, 30, 40 years future of that complex if we know whether or not that water line can be used by those independent properties on the north side of the fence.
They would need 3 other property owners to be able to grant them easements through their properties to be able to extend it up through that.
Well, that's step number 2. Step number 1 is there a possibility to tap onto that line,
Sure.
line? Okay. So the next question I have here is, so now that we have water there, what about sewer? I mean, is this on a septic system? It's on a septic system, which then is going to lead to probably some of Bill's questions in regards to,
Let me restate that. Bob, there is a septic line that runs behind these buildings. It goes through the open space that's back behind there because it dead ends at the south end of the Strike and Spare parking lot. As you can tell, this is like a quagmire of different utilities. I believe that the structure is actually probably served by sanitary.
There's a sanitary that runs up
Yeah.
the creek line to Strike and Spare.
Right.
Now, whether all these buildings are tied onto it, I don't know, because it comes down, hits Marino, and goes west, then south.
well, I think we should find out whether or not it is serviced by sanitary, or if it is, because then the next question I would have is about, there's going to be fluids, okay? And so when we have, and Bill can probably address this far better than I can in regards to fluids in the operation of an auto repair shop, and I'm going to consider this to be in that category. So what happens to these fluids then that would go into, they'd have to be treated somehow, some way going into a septic system, okay? And
What you're getting at, Darren, is it needs a triple trap grease system installed so that any grease and oils that are in the drains in the motorcycle shop will be separated from the sanitary sewer.
which then leads to the question to Mr. Weiss here is that would probably be a requirement on my part that a triple, what would you call that? A
Triple trap grease drain.
triple trap grease, yeah, one of those things.
Where we plan on having the repair facility inside of the building, there are no floor drains. There's no floor drains in that whole building. So we wouldn't have to worry about that. We have, if we spill oil where we're at now, we have a oil containment system that consists of oil-absorbing rags and socks, and then you throw oil-absorbing compound on it.
Thank you. But that still doesn't go ahead and give the, doesn't address our code, which will require this triple thing.
We don't require that.
Yeah.
It's the Illinois plumbing code.
Now, in the past, for automotive service areas comparable to this, we've required the shop area have floor drains and a grease trap. We've required it for numerous other businesses that opened up automotive service facilities.
Is that a zoning
I believe that's in our
issue
code.
or a building code issue?
It's a building code
Building
issue.
code issue, not a zoning issue.
Right.
Okay.
Well, from my position, I would like to have those questions answered in the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Then have them come back.
Meaning what? In the next 4 weeks? You're putting it,
Well, I'd like to get answers to these questions, okay? I just don't think that we can, personally, I can't move forward and say yes. I would much rather continue this discussion until the next meeting. It's 4 weeks. And then, and get answers to some of those questions, or all those questions.
okay? Anyone else have questions, concerns, comments? Aaron, Scott?
No, mine was just, I mean, I just have some general questions. It seems like it's mostly answered here about the parking lot and, you know, the sign, and these types of situations are a little bit tough because you're trying to do an adjacent property that's not really covered here, so, you know, we can't, it's not really fair to ask them of that. I'm just trying to think, as a city, we're saying we're okay if they take care of the parking lot, they take care of their sign, and then, you know, as part of that process, they can engage the neighbors if they want to participate, great, if not.
Right.
So, you know, as long as it's in here that this property is taken care of, that's great. You know, ideally, there'll be some fostering of those relationships during the process, but, you know, my other quotes were mostly on the things that were already covered with the sprinklers and the activities taking place inside. So, you know, logistically, that's kind of for them to worry about. I think from a zoning perspective, I don't have too many concerns, you know, outside of these things that have already kind of been discussed that are somewhat outside of the applicant's control.
Okay, thank you. Bill?
It's been stated that all the motorcycle repairs work will be done inside the building. Operating internal combustion engines produce carbon monoxide, which is a tasteless, odorless, colorless gas, which when inhaled depletes the oxygen in the blood system. I'm a retired master automotive service technician with over 40 years of trade time, so I know from personal experience what the problems can be with carbon monoxide. So are there any plans to install an effective ventilation system that will remove carbon monoxide from the work areas?
We'll have to put in an exhaust fan that's operated on the carbon monoxide. A detector that'll, when it reaches the minimum, I don't know what the minimum requirement is, it'll turn on and evacuate it.
Well,
And pull in fresh air.
I looked it up. According to OSHA, 50 parts per million or less of carbon monoxide is considered safe. So you would need to have carbon monoxide detectors at various locations in your building to determine if in fact you're exceeding the 50 parts per million OSHA requirement.
Yes.
Do you have carbon monoxide detectors in your current location?
No, we have a wide open door.
Okay.
It's just a garage door.
Now, carbon monoxide detectors need to be installed locations around the shop about 5 feet off the floor, the height that most people are breathing air. But that's to me a major concern is that, and I've seen people get sick and drop out in the past from my experience, so I know from firsthand experience what the problems can be with carbon monoxide in a closed shop area. Somebody's going to start up and run an engine for a few minutes, and then it's 10 minutes and 20 minutes and 30 minutes, and the people are getting bad headaches. Carbon monoxide displaces the oxygen in the bloodstream. You know, and so, I mean, you get a bad headache where Tylenol or aspirin won't do a thing for it. I've seen guys sniffing oxygen off the acetylene torches trying to get rid of the headache. It just doesn't work. I mean, carbon monoxide is a major concern for me. That your shop area have an adequate ventilation system to see to it that whether it's an individual tailpipe system or an exhaust fan, but
We would review all of that, our building official and the fire district would review all of that as a part of their
Yeah, I
building
mean-
permit submittals on the interior fit out. That would all be a part of that review, for sure.
I just don't want to approve a special use permit that may end up being in violation of OSHA regulation. OSHA sets the standard, 50 parts per million or less of carbon monoxide is considered safe.
We have, our building code has requirements in it, Bill, for the exhaust system for this automotive service and motorcycle service, stuff of that nature. It would be, I assume, on his submittal from his architect for his build-out.
I've seen some of the newer exhaust systems, and you can probably speak to this, where once it hits a certain level at, those sensors, then it actuates the fan.
Yes.
Up to that certain level, just to get it below the OSHA standards. I've seen it at a few trucking facilities.
Yeah.
Now, carbon monoxide coming out the tailpipe, it's hot, so it tends to rise. But once it cools, it drops back down to the level of the employees. So it doesn't get to them right away, but it does get to them eventually. The other concern is, for staff, are we going to require them to have floor drains and a grease trap in the shop area?
It will need to, any of the interior build-out things would need to meet Illinois State Plumbing Code. It would need to meet our IBC requirements. I mean, I want to make sure that The commission is focused on the things that they need to
Zoning
review,
aspect of it
the
all.
zoning aspects of this.
I think most
Just
of the,
like
most of
with
the
the
concerns
studs
are,
and-
we've seen this happen before.
Right.
Where the owners aren't aware of this, they come in and spend all their money getting a special use permit, and then they find out a sprinkler system's $100,000, triple trap system $6,000, stuff of that. I think that's the concern of this commission tonight.
That's why we do our pre-app meetings with all of our
Right.
different disciplines, so that they can share that
Yeah,
information.
well, the thing is, there's no mention of either of those subjects in the memorandum we were provided with. I'm bringing them up because I have no objection to what's being presented. My concern is what's not in here being presented. Carbon monoxide detection and ventilation and the floor drains and grease traps.
Those things are not subject to the Plan Zoning Commission review.
They have been in the past.
That doesn't mean that they should be.
That's a subject for a different day.
Well, that's all I have.
Yeah, just on the water lines, what Darren was saying, is there any ETA that they can figure out where that really is coming from? Like, the only reason I'm asking is if they can tap into a water line, it's probably gonna be cheaper than doing a cistern system, for the sprinkling. Cheaper. That's all.
It depends on what the adjacent property owners would charge for an easement across their properties.
It runs through their property, where that.
It doesn't run to their properties at all yet.
Can it run along the road and then down?
It's up close to the building.
Oh, it's up.
It's like 30 feet off the face of the building. So it would need to run through those three properties to
There'd be
get
three
to them.
parcels between theirs
Right.
and.
Understood.
Correct. So they
Then
would
we have
need,
to worry about,
I was thinking the hydrant was out closer.
right, yeah.
then you have to worry about what size is the line, does it have capacity
Yeah, right.
for the fire suppression system, so.
Yeah, I mean, we are absolutely willing to work with that. It's difficult for our staff to be able to get into their private system, especially with a new owner of that portion of the shopping center. We'll need to engage them certainly in that discussion. And we have had our group out under the previous owner. That sale just happened within the last 30 days to investigate some of those things. But it's very difficult to identify the route, the size, and all that kind of stuff without as-built drawings, which they don't seem to have. So we'll research all that. We will certainly research the sanitary line and make sure that we understand that, and be able to share that information with all of you.
One of my questions is, why didn't the fire district respond to this? Were they sent a letter? Because the fire district is more up to speed than our building inspector is on their fire suppression systems, what their present codes are, because their codes are different than ours.
They didn't respond in writing, but they have attended meetings and they have provided verbal, direct response whenever questions have come up. So if I could answer a question that might answer multiple questions here. The process when community development has a new business or a new development, the first item of concern is typically the zoning. So we want to make sure that the use is allowable in the district. Once we address the zoning, make sure that it's in the appropriate district, make sure that if there's a special use permit that's needed, we address that with this process. After that is addressed, for any new business coming into the city of Lockport, a couple of the conditions in here that were listed was, one, a remodel or renovation permit is required, and two, a new business permit is required. So with any new business, when they come into the city, they fill out a new business permit, and that at that point, it is reviewed against the building code, and the building official reviews any items that relate to parking, the interior, plumbing, electric, anything that's going to relate to the building code requirements. And that's standard across the board for any business that comes through for to open, and they can't get an occupancy to operate their business until they have addressed all of the fire district's concerns, all of the building department's concerns, all of planning's concerns, and all of engineering concerns. So everything has to be addressed before each individual department will sign off and give their blessing on a new business permit application.
Okay,
The fire code is actually enforced by the building official. The fire code is in our IBC code. And so we consult with the district official, but they don't enforce the fire code. They review sprinkler systems and they approve those sprinkler systems as far as their operation and things like that. But as far as the requirements in the drawings, as a part of the review, they are copied on those building permits so that they are able to see them, consult with our building official. But the reason that the comment came from the building official is he's the one that will require that based on the IBC that's documented in the city's code of ordinances.
Okay. I don't totally agree with that, Lance, but that's another story. Some of the concerns I have are this: where's the plan for the parking lot, for the curbs, for the landscaping, and the sign? We have no plans for it. Are there gonna be curbs required? How's the parking lot? Where's the water drainage go? Why don't we have there's no plans in this packet for it?
We would typically not handle those as a final development plan package. It's just like the car repair shop that we had down at Division and State. We reviewed it as a part of the special use permit process to put an auto repair shop in that location, and then we worked with them through the building permit process to reorganize some of the drives, make sure the asphalt was done correctly, make sure that the gutter downspouts were all connected into the storm sewer, make sure that there was landscaping up against the side. We typically don't require final development plans as a part of basically remediating existing asphalt or existing parking.
Okay. Are there curbs gonna be required when they come back? How are they gonna get a plan approved for a parking lot?
They'll need to submit one as a part of their building permit. When they come to do the parking lot and the asphalt, they'll need to submit a plan for that and how they're gonna stripe it so that we can make sure that it
Well,
meets the
in the review,
city
it says
standards.
curbs. Are the curbs gonna be required? There are no curbs there now.
That's a discussion that we need to have, because it's unclear when we have an existing parking lot, how easy it can be to add curbs to the parking lot. It's based on drainage and a number of other items that we have to review.
Well, yeah, and part of that is just me, but it's actually the cost factor also at curb at $35, $38 a foot.
Right,
It may throw their budget out if they don't know they're gonna need it.
correct.
I just want anybody that comes in this room to know their costs, where they're gonna be. Because we've had it happen a bunch of times that they get into it and this fire system's like $85,000, to run the water line's $80,000. Well, they just blew $165,000 and that's not in their budget. That's why I'm asking for a parking lot plan, and where is it? I think we should have it. But, okay. Next, any other comments, questions? Motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Deskin. Second by Garland. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. What's your pleasure?
I really think that we need to, based upon a decade of these things and listening to these things, I just think that it would be in the best interests of Mr. Weiss and his business to go and get answers to these questions first, because I don't want him to go ahead and be surprised. I mean, I think that the questions about the cost of the parking lot, because in the very next public hearing, we do have a parking lot. It's all part of the plan. And I just think we need to continue this for 1 month until we get answers for the applicant more than us, to be honest with you.
Is that a motion or a comment?
Well, it's a comment right now.
Okay.
I mean, if that is the approach you would prefer, we'd be happy to work with the applicant after the meeting next week or the week after to provide the answers to the questions that you've asked. If you are looking to get those answers in this forum for yourselves, then I would recommend that you continue it to January. We're happy to do either way.
Do we want to ask the applicant what an action like that, how an action like that might impact their business plans?
You're welcome to do that.
You're welcome to do that.
Mr. Weiss, what would an action like that, or how would an action like that impact your business plan?
No, public hearing's closed.
Sorry. Hi.
This is only pertaining to
Okay.
there was such a motion made on
Yes.
the, whether or not the continuation of this hearing will impact your business plans.
So it will slightly delay, and we will have to ask for a continuance on the contract with the current property owner. We can definitely answer the questions. I can't answer on whether the property owner, if we can get the continuance. So, because the contract is contingent on the special use permit, and we did build in a little bit of flexibility, but we'll have to find out.
I guess the biggest question is, what is your timeline for moving forward? Because it would go before city council in January 4th. So,
Correct.
being that said, would it affect you, how bad would it affect your decision to move forward if you had to come back in January to this commission, which would be January
So
10th?
ideally, we would need full approval by the February council meeting.
No,
No?
we have until the 15th to close of February. That is what,
I think we're all in agreement with the zoning change and the special use permit. The question is the water, the fire suppression system, stuff of that nature.
I've already talked to the fire marshal, and he's the one who agreed with the tank system. That's what I do for a living. I'm a sprinkler fitter. I've been doing that for 27 years. So I know what the cost of this is.
You could educate us then. You could educate us on this.
Yes, I know what the cost of this is. I have it
Right.
all figured out with my boss and my engineering department. I know what it's gonna cost, a rough estimate about it, and I know all that. I did not know about the triple basin because I was under the assumption because it was a flat surface that we wouldn't need it. There's no drains that would be involved with anything going down them.
Well, we're dealing with an existing building versus a new building too, so that may be the change in the plumbing code. There's all kinds of changes in it, but
And then I've already got prices on repairing the parking lot and replacing the parking lot. It ranges from like $8,000 to $42,000.
And we also asked for quotes if we did the entire parking lot, which is in front of the other two occupants, our property, and then the other two occupants, so we can engage in conversations with them to find out if we can share the cost. So we are trying to be proactive because we do recognize that it does need repair. We don't want our motorcycles on the
Which is great, and
the
thank
lot
you for
getting a
reaching-
flat tire.
thank you for reaching
So-
out to do that.
So we
that's
are
great.
trying to at least get some options with the other owners.
And then Caesar with Villanova, he has no timeline on when he's moving in,
Okay.
so.
So regarding the parking lot, if you were to return more of that to green space, because you obviously don't need a parking lot that large, would that reduce the cost at all?
What's that?
If you return some of that to green space, or, you know, because it's quite an immense parking lot? I mean, you don't need that much.
Actually, our site isn't
Oh,
really
it's- I guess
that
it's not.
big.
Okay.
The cost would balance with the
Wouldn't matter.
removal
Okay.
Yeah.
of the seed and stuff, so it's not worth
And
pursuing it.
we are concerned, we do have a trailer that will need to maneuver in and out. It's 20 feet.
Yeah, 24
So-
foot.
Need a radius to get it in?
5 foot. So,
So
Okay.
Okay, okay, so you guys just answered some of the questions that I wanted to know. Okay, so I'm good with this. So, I'll make the motion to, accept, a motion to approve, the findings of fact as presented and recommended, for the approval for the special use, permit for unique use permit, to allow a motorcycle repair shop with sales and indoor storage motorcycles within the C2 district with all of the conditions that are outlined in the staff memo.
Second.
Second. We have a motion by Deskin, second by Peters. Roll call vote, please. Any other comments?
I just want to say, we didn't ever want to be naysayers. We really appreciate that you're trying to improve this site, but we just want to make sure that you know what you're getting into, and clearly you do.
All right. Wheeler,
Yes.
Garland,
Yes.
Maloney,
No.
Oxley,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Likens,
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Thank you. This will go before City Council in this room on January 4th at 7 PM.
thank you.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Summit Ice Arena preliminary and final development plan. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing? So moved. Motion by Garland.
Second.
Second by Likens. You guys get me going. I go one way, another way. Trying to make my head stand up here or what? Okay, Kimberly?
Thank you, Chairman. Next case before you is case number 2022-019. The applicant, Pete Olson, is seeking approval of a special use permit for a planned development to allow an ice hockey development. Also included with this request, the applicant is seeking approval of final subdivision plat and final development plans for a new 73,323 square foot dome fabric building and 43,673 square foot dome fabric building. Displayed before you on your monitor is the aerial map. The subject property is comprised of 3 separate lots, 2, 3, and 4 of Prime Business Park, totaling 12.3 acres. It is zoned O2 General Office. The parcels will be consolidated into a single parcel with final subdivision plat. An ice hockey development is considered commercial recreation indoor in the use classification table of the city's zoning ordinance, which is a special use within the O2 General Office District. There are 2 modifications from the bulk requirements section, section 156-073, that need to be addressed, which will be discussed in the final development plan review section of this report. Based on section 156-142, a planned development shall be considered for any development requesting 2 or more variations. A planned development, or a PD, is a special use. The Plan and Zoning Commission shall conduct a public hearing for the special use, consider the development plans. The Plan and Zoning Commission provide recommendation to the City Council, and the special use for the PD will run with the land and shall be transferable to future owners. A special use permit shall be granted only if evidence is presented to establish the following. These are going to sound familiar. A, the proposed building or use at the particular location requested is necessary or desirable to provide a service or facility which is in the interest of the public and will contribute to the general welfare of the neighborhood or community. Staff finds as recreation and sporting has grown in popularity, facilities have become necessary to support the practice and competition of sports available in the community. Currently, there are no proximate hockey facilities in the area that provide Lockport residents with a place to train, practice, and play ice hockey. Given the popularity of the sport and the anticipated player attraction radius, the Summit Ice Arena facility will positively impact our existing retail, restaurants, and lodging businesses, as well as provide important services for existing and future residents. B, the proposed building or use will not have a substantial adverse effect upon adjacent property, the character of the neighborhood, traffic conditions, utility facilities, and other matters affecting the public health, safety, and general welfare. Staff finds the presence of the two new dome buildings could have some impact on the existing character. However, a precedent has been established with the existing Bow Dome that is also located within Prime Business Park. Although the development is zoned O2, there are a mix of existing non-office uses as the existing sports dome, and the city's public works facility in the vicinity. The operation of the ice arena business should not negatively impact traffic facilities or utilities for adjacent properties. And C, the proposed building or use will be designed, arranged, and operated so as to permit the development and use of the neighboring property in accordance with the applicable district regulations. Staff finds the proposed development will be designed and operated in a manner that will not hinder new development or neighboring properties in accordance with the O2 district limitations. And moving on to the final development plan review. So displayed on your monitor is the final site plan. The plan shows that a 73,323 square foot building will be constructed in the northeast corner of the site, and a 43,673 square foot building will be constructed in the southwest corner of the site. A parking lot servicing both buildings will be located centrally. Street access primarily comes from Prime Boulevard, which comes from 167th Street. The subject property will be accessed by two driveways off of Prime Boulevard. The driveways can accommodate two-way traffic. Public sidewalk will be extended along the frontage of the project. Although not shown, a public sidewalk will be extended south to Wall Street, and the plans will be updated prior to the committee of the whole meeting. In lieu of extending the sidewalk to 167th Street, a pedestrian crossing shall be established at Salem Lane to connect to Veterans Memorial Trail at the northwest corner of Prime Boulevard and Salem Lane. Adequate parking has been provided. It is in conformance with requirements. Parking requirements will be based on a 1 space per 3 seat ratio. According to the applicant's response letter, total capacity is about 500. The site plan shows that a total of 347 parking spaces are provided, and an additional 245 spaces will be land banked for future development. At the time that the land bank spaces are developed, a modification to the bulk requirements will be needed to vary the maximum impervious surface from 60% to 67%. Elevations are provided and are displayed on your monitor. The elevations show that the buildings are fabric dome buildings, which are significantly different from typical commercial development. However, the fabric buildings are justifiable as the conventional standards are not conducive to the size and nature of this development. The applicant has been working with staff to add high-quality materials where feasible. These include the face brick columns and hockey stick sculpture at the entrance of the buildings. Building height is 75 feet, which exceeds the maximum building height of 55 feet within the O2 district. A modification to the bulk requirements, section 156.073, is needed to vary the maximum building height from 55 to 75 feet. Furthermore, a modification to Appendix A for exterior building materials is also requested to accommodate the unique building type and alternative material solutions. A final landscape plan was provided and is in compliance with the city code. The plan addresses parkway trees, interior vehicle use landscaping, and frontage landscaping. Photometric was provided. Also in conformance, all outdoor fixtures will be downward lit with full cutoff. A wall sign that is stitched into the fabric of the dome, it's actually illustrated in the elevations, is in conformance with the city sign requirements. And then for the engineering review, the final engineering plans have been reviewed. All remaining concerns have been addressed. The Homer Fire Protection District has no comments at this time for the external building or the general layout of the site. A turning radius for fire apparatus was included in the submittal, demonstrating the drive aisles. The drive aisles can accommodate a fire truck. The building official has no comments at this time. And the motion is displayed on your monitor. Should the commission find the special use permit, final subdivision plat, and final development plans for the proposed development acceptable, the following motions are suggested. Motion to adopt staff's finding of facts and make recommendation to the city council to approve a special use permit for a planned development to allow an ice hockey development within the O2 General Office District, subject to the following conditions. There's an error there in the typo, so please consider that to be conditions. Or actually, that is modifications, pardon me. We put the modifications as conditions. So the modifications are numbers 1, 2, and 3. A modification to vary the bulk requirement for maximum impervious surface from 60% to 67% to accommodate the land-based parking. 2, a modification to vary the bulk requirements for maximum building height from 55 to 75 feet. And 3, a modification to vary Appendix A, exterior building materials to accommodate the unique building type and alternative material solutions. B, a separate motion to approve the final subdivision plat and preliminary and final development plan in one step for a 73,365 square foot dome building and 43,642 square foot dome building, subject to the following condition, that a separate sign permit will need to be completed for all proposed signage. At that time, the type of materials used, dimensions of the sign will need to be provided and will be reviewed by the city. Landscaping around the freestanding sign is to be shown. That concludes staff's analysis, and the applicant is here with his team to answer questions.
One quick note, the north entrance is exit only. The middle entrance is two-way, just to clarify that.
Anyone from the public here to speak? Hearing none. Comments, questions from the commissioners?
Could we have the applicant?
State your name and I'm sorry. Hi.
Usually you state your name first.
Excuse me. Peter Olson, 17058 Austin Lane in Orland Park.
You may raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, so first comment I have is welcome.
Thank you.
We've been hearing about this for a long time, and we've had to keep it under wraps for a long time. And I don't know anything at all about the hockey world, okay? So forgive me if I ask some questions that'll be obvious to you that, okay? So, just a couple of questions. The training facility is going to be a turf type of surface on the inside for training?
Yes, fully.
Okay.
100%.
And so when a tournament,
Excuse me, with the exception of the small area that we have 2 bathrooms and the entranceway.
okay.
So
So,
99% of it.
okay. So when it comes to a hockey tournament or a figure skating tournament, specifically for hockey, do hockey teams have a trailer or to transport equipment, or is it normally done by parents? You know, and I don't know anything about this.
Okay. I can go very deep, or I can keep it high level, but in the state of Illinois, across the country, outside of Minnesota, there are typically three areas, three levels of youth hockey. And so when we're talking about youth hockey, we're talking approximately 5 to 6 years old up through 20. And as they grow, there's different levels, and there, 8U, there's 10U, there's 12U, 14, 16, 18, and 20. And across the different levels, typically at the lowest level and the second level, the bottom two levels, the parents are dropping the children off. They're very much engaged. At the tier 1 level, which is the highest level, you're getting into the places where parents are considering sending their children away to prep schools at the ages of 10 and 12 years old. So we've got friends who have sent their 10-year-old little boy to Shattuck St. Mary's in Minnesota at 10 years old, 12 years old, in order to try to make sure that they get to that next level. And there's many players from the Blackhawks currently that have gone to that school and have gone that route. What we're talking about here is the whole purpose of this is to provide a place for the community. We're trying to work down south here and provide better programming, different programming than what is provided typically anywhere else in the state of Illinois. The model that we're taking is from Minnesota and northern Wisconsin, and it's much more dialed into the lower levels and trying to build. That's why we've called this a training center. While we're focused on hockey, we're not only focused on hockey. We like to be open to all sports, because that's typically what USA Hockey is preaching now, is to be trying to have hockey players play other sports because they can benefit in Sweden in the off season. That's why the training facility, the turf facility, is so important to us, because there's so much that can be done off ice. Team building, teaching these young people how to work together through different activities. And so that's why we've left the majority of the training facility very open, so it can be flexible. We can do different things in there depending on what that specific team needs. And so with regards to your question, do they have the ages that we're looking at, the tournaments that could be coming in, 99% of them would be parents bring their equipment, the players. Very rarely. Now, on the same note, we have invested, our family has invested in two what are called junior hockey teams, the Chicago Crush and the Chicago Cougars. Junior hockey, these players pay to play. They are not professional. But the goal of these teams are to get 16 to 20-year-olds into college. And that's what we're hoping to do, is by pulling this together the same way that they've done it out east and in Michigan. As a 5-year-old little boy, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, and you can look up to what they see as a professional. And imagine having those young men, they're all men, boys that are helping with the Learn to Skate, that are helping, and imagine what that could be to show a young person, younger than them, maybe a 12-year-old, man, someday maybe I could be one of those guys. And that's what the dream is.
Okay, well, thank you for that. The purpose of my question, though, was a team coming in on a Friday night, leaving on a Saturday afternoon, and having to go ahead and leave their trailer.
Absolutely.
Okay,
That's
so
where I was going with the junior team.
so-
The
so-
junior teams in the league do have buses. And so it would typically be one bus per team per weekend. And so they would come into town, and we have parking in the back for the bus. But it's not like you're going to have 4 or 5 buses. It's
So-
one
so
bus a weekend,
so-
and all the equipment fits underneath the bus. There's no trailers or anything being left.
So they're a tour bus then?
Tour bus, yes,
So
55
there'll
person.
be screening in the back? I mean,
Yes.
I looked at, I think I saw a fence in the back there.
Yes.
So there'll be screening, okay, great. On a, in other facilities, two rink facilities, on this ballpark, how many people in a year come to the facility outside, say, a 20-mile radius?
Typically, a 20-mile radius, currently, the leagues that are playing inside Illinois, we're traveling, my son right now plays out of Addison Ice Arena, and we're from Orland Park. So people are traveling an hour in every direction. That's pretty common even at the lower levels. So I don't know if that, what a 20-mile
You
radius.
have tournaments and weekends and stuff of that nature?
Absolutely, yes.
So out-of-state teams come to the tournaments?
All the time, all the
I
time.
think that's where Darren was
Yeah,
going with
that's
that.
where I was going. So it's, okay, can we expect 75,000 people, 100,000 people, 150,000 people,
Yeah.
you know, in a 12-month period of time that would visit the facility? Because then we have, of course, the ancillary stuff, the hotels and the restaurants and potential entertainment.
Well, with these two teams that are expanding and we'll be expanding, the league is expanding next year. So these two teams are expanding to another level within the league. So there's technically going to be 4 teams. And these junior hockey teams are when they come into town, typically they will come in for 2 or 3 days. So right there, I don't want to misguide you at all. These teams do not bring a lot of fans. You know, typically, I feel that the occupancy that we have of 500 is very aggressive on the high end. We're expecting maybe 300 at the top end if they were running all full blast. But yes, when we have when tournaments, different organizations are trying to run tournaments every weekend. And so that does drive, and we have teams coming in from Michigan, from Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Missouri all the time. Indiana, not as many from Indiana, but.
And I think I read that there's potential for expansion. I think I saw a secondary thing where, you know, a potential future additional rinks in the future?
No, for the parking lot.
Oh, for the parking lot,
The
okay.
parking lot.
That's all I have, thank you.
Anyone else, questions, comments?
Yeah, my question was just about the land banking of the parking. You know, it seems like the 500 spaces kind of meets the requirement and meets the need. Is that just kind of like a future, if we are running into issues, then we can develop that later and kind of push some of those costs out to help, you know, get things started up quickly? And as long as, you know, as long as the city is okay and it meets all the codes, I'm okay with that. You know, I do think that long-term, you know, ideally, we would be having you guys fill that in. Is there any requirements that we're gonna have, or is there any, you know, if we notice that it's becoming an issue, is there anything that the city can do to push that to get developed or anything like that? I guess it's more of a question for Lance.
That's a good question. What's gonna trigger additional parking? Because we have it at the Bow Dome and nothing's been done with that place.
And
They're all over the
it's
street all
rough.
weekend.
Saturday morning at the Bow Dome is
Terrible.
a disaster. You got people parking on the street. You got kids running across the street there. It's not a great situation. I think this is more spots than that, and this
Yeah.
seems to be more of a focused training thing, whereas the Bow Dome, I think, pulls more from just your everyday Joes in the community. So just kind of wondering if there's any like triggers that we have to.
Yeah, it's actually a good comment. It's good to know that that's occurring on Saturday mornings, because that we can engage them in that conversation. I mean, honestly, outside of me living here, none of my staff are here on Saturdays, so code enforcement or others wouldn't be able to see that.
I'll
But I
back
appreciate,
up Aaron's comment.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I mean,
I don't wanna throw anybody
yeah.
under the bus here. I mean,
if that's an issue, then
it's like It's terrible out there.
And we can trigger that expansion of the parking, and it would be the same case here, that if people are starting to park on Prime Boulevard, we would likely trigger the parking expansion.
Okay. That's just my kind of question on that.
Yeah, just another comment. Obviously, we're heavily involved with hockey, and our neighbors in Orland Park, on Friday nights in the wintertime, it's miserable. They've got Providence High School. They've got a lot of heavy traffic, and we have had to park blocks away to get to my young son's ice time. And so that's not something that I think that we could be proud of as a family. And I think it's something that I would hope that we would address before you got to us.
It's in your mindset of, I know I'm gonna have good parking, because I'm not
Yeah.
walking.
Yeah, there aren't too many ice rinks that have nice parking, and that's why we've worked really hard to try to do this right. And it's the little things that we've tried to do here, like the walkway between the two. It's important that before a game, that the players could warm up in the turf dome and then be able to walk over safely. There's little things like that we've done here to try to make it so that way there won't be any regrets. We don't want to look back and have those regrets. And I really think that as a family, we are committed to, we would like to fill that in. In the meantime, it would be nice to have the grass there. It's nice to have some grass, and you can always put a picnic table out there. Make it so that way there's a place to go in the summertime, So we really hope we've done a nice job with the landscaping. It's important to us. Lance has helped us with that, and that's what I can say.
Very, very nicely drawn plan.
If the commission would like to add a condition about what would trigger that can certainly be a part of your motion as an operation.
I think with the 378 spots or so, we're at capacity of 500, we're close, but if you want to add something, that's up to you guys.
Yeah, I personally, I don't know if we need to add it. I think that like you said, the code enforcement, people, I do think that we would want to make sure that that is a point of emphasis, and I don't think it needs to be formal or written down or whatever, I think that this is something that's gonna it's gonna attract a lot of attention, it's gonna attract a lot of eyes from residents and from people from out of town, so I just want to, I think that that's just something that we should speak to the council about. I don't necessarily think it's something we need to build in here, because we don't want to put a timeline on it either, or make it a condition, because I don't want to financially have that be an issue of this not happening. So personally, that's my view. The other commissioners may think otherwise.
Thank you.
That's kind of how I personally feel.
Okay.
I think as Aaron stated, the observations of people parking on Prime Boulevard for the Bow Dome, and it is a pain in the rear end, it's not safe. So when it spills on the Prime, that's your time.
Understood.
You want to put that as part of it? Well,
No,
then,
I just,
I've got a motion.
you're owning it, you're gonna get the complaints.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And if you get complaints, people are gonna stop coming, or not as many will come. But if you got the accommodations, more people are gonna come.
And
you're
wouldn't
gonna
that be a wonderful problem to have?
Yeah.
So, that's good business.
Yes,
Good point,
absolutely.
Scott. Any other questions or comments?
Just a comment, very excited. I'm terrified it's so close to my house because my 6-year-old boy is just gonna be like,
You can just walk
hey,
there.
I'm gonna travel hockey,
Nice.
You can just walk over
Terrified.
there. You won't have to drive him.
Walking hack.
Oh, that's exactly it.
You're gonna
Just-
save gas.
Yeah,
Be a
I'll
walking
save gas
hockey
carrying
dad.
that hockey bag over.
Just to add to that, those are the types of things that we're trying to target here, is we'd like to try to get into the schools and give free learn to skate. We'd like to try hockey for free. We'd like to do a lot of those things that they're doing in other states like Minnesota, Michigan, that just Illinois hockey has become a lot about the money. And that's why this has been really important to us to try to do this as balanced as possible and make it somewhere where kids are going to want to go. When your little boy comes walking in there and can look up at those high ceilings, we didn't want the ceilings high. It's the dimensions of the dome forced us to get that. But just imagine how that would be to be a little guy looking up, oh my gosh, or girl, excuse me. But just, I can only imagine. So, thank you.
think it's great. It's going to be quite an asset for our city and also just for the region, and I'm going to get my skates sharpened.
Oh, what? I do have a question about the hockey stick,
You're
which,
done. You're done. You had your question.
which is, I just had to smile because since we're in proximity of the Route 66 corridor, and the Route 66 corridor is known for art, and I look at this more as an art thing than
It is.
say, what's that gonna be made out of, or?
We're working through different designs with a number of different manufacturers. There's a strong possibility, and it was interesting how we evolved to this, but the hope was that possibly that the same as a boat, the fiberglass, that might be of possibility. I will say this, the largest hockey stick in the world is in Canada. And it used to be in Minnesota before they built one along the side of a building. And so our hope was that maybe this would be one more thing that we could do for Lockport and kind of one more thing to put Lockport on the map. We're just excited about this town, this city, and just what can we say? I will say that we're hoping to be able to build it. The hockey stick, from day one, we're trying to focus on the kids first. So, and I agree with you, it is an art piece. It's something that, that we would like to be able to provide to the city though someday, so.
My last thing is just out of curiosity, what a timeline looks like, assuming this goes through today, assuming the city council, gives their blessing, what kind of a timeline is this on? This obviously seems like a fairly large project, so.
We have the understanding that the domes can go up very quickly. They're estimating 10 to 14 days. But due to a lot of the materials, the different, the transformers and that sort of thing, we might be delayed. We were hoping to try to make next season. And if we open in the middle of the season, that's fine too. We can still do a lot of those other things with the younger kids. And so we're excited about that. It would be really neat next Christmas if we could have a Christmas skate for everyone and have Santa out there and, some
Excellent.
different things.
Thank you.
So,
Okay, thank you much. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Deskin, second by
Second.
Likens. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Questions, comments? Motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt staff's findings of facts and make recommendation to the city council to approve a special use permit for planned development to allow an ice hockey development within the O2 General Office District subject to the following modifications, 1, 2, and 3, as noted by staff.
We have a motion by Likens, second by Peters.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
You got it. Wheeler.
Yes.
Garland.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
Oxley.
Yes,
Peters.
Yes.
Likens.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
thank you much. This will go before city council and
Second
Should we
motion.
need
one
a
more motion.
second motion? There's a typo, it should be motion B. Should be the second.
I'll make a second
second,
motion.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
went right by it.
I'll make a second motion to approve final subdivision plat and preliminary and final development plan in one step for a 73,365 square foot dome building and a 43,642 square foot dome building, subject to the following conditions. A separate sign permit will need to be completed for proposed signage. At that time, the type of materials used, dimensions of the sign will need to be provided and will be reviewed by the city. Landscaping around the freestanding sign is to be shown.
Second?
Second by Wheeler. Okay, roll call vote,
You
please.
got it. Wheeler.
Yes.
Garland.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
Oxley.
Yes,
Peters.
Yes.
Likens.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
okay. That'll go before city council, January 4th, 7 PM in this room.
thank you all very much.
Thank you much.
Good luck. Order the transformer now.
New business, we're gonna handle that other under old business, Lance.
Yeah, just under staff report.
Okay, old business?
So either under staff report or old business. I sent a note out to all of you that inadvertently, we did not include the further continuation of the Continental Springs at Lockport project on the agenda for tonight. It will be added to the January agenda to continue that to the March 13th meeting. We heard yesterday that they finally got some additional property ownership issues resolved. So that is helping their title company move forward with the next pieces of it. But they wanted to make sure that all of those things got fixed before they submitted the final plans for our final set of reviews. Originally, they were going to submit 2 alternative plans just to continue the process moving. But we asked that they not do that so that you guys weren't put in a position where you had to approve 2 alternative plans and then down the road they'd pick one. We didn't feel that that was appropriate or the best way to move forward. They totally agreed. They've been a great client to work with. And so that was our inadvertent error that we left that off, but we will include it next month.
Shows you how great the title companies are.
Yeah. They did a 100-year title search, and it showed that the Catholic diocese actually had some level of ownership also in that strip parcel. And so they had to
That's
issue
who Carlson Brothers bought that parcel from, Catholic diocese.
the strip one. So that was,
33 foot.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that one, they had to get a quick claim deed from the diocese on that, which they provided for them.
Yes, several title companies down the road. Okay, citizens to be heard? None. Chairman's report. Lance, I have a question about the, what are the guidelines, and I found an old one of the cities objecting or agreeing with the 1.5 mile radius thing with the county zoning changes. Could you supply us with a copy of that ordinance so we have it?
Kimberly and I have talked about this because I know that you inquired about that earlier this week. In our current zoning code, we do not have anything in there that includes that piece of it. However, there is an allowance at the end of that section related to your roles and responsibilities that allows for you to set a rule or a standard. If you would like to add that to it, it's perfectly fine. I mean, honestly, from my standpoint, it doesn't matter whether we bring it to you all or the city council. The issue that we're having is that Will County is not notifying us until 3 weeks before their Plan Zoning Commission meeting, which, based on the timeline, we can't get you all together to review that unless we start having special meetings every time I get a will.
Well, we used to have it come before the commission, and then with our recommendation, we'll go to city council. And that was an issue then, with sometimes you wouldn't get time to get on the agenda, or, they need to know by last Tuesday.
Correct.
Stuff of that nature. So, yeah, we'll have to pursue that and see where that goes.
Yeah, and that's why I had presented the letter as just a informational new business to the council last week, so that I could get some direction to be able to provide that to them. Turns out the applicant actually changed their application yesterday, so I had to make some revisions to that letter. So it's a timing thing. I'd be happy to bring all of these things in front of you, but by the time that we get through 2.5 months worth of meetings to review and authorize those things, the meeting has already occurred. They've likely already approved it.
I don't know where we want to go with that, because like I said, it used to come before Plan Commission and go to city council, and then bounce back from your department back, and the timing was the issue sometimes, I know that, but.
Yeah, I want somebody, whether it's Plan Zoning Commission or City Council, to help assist us to provide that direction to say, yeah, we'd like to send this letter of
Bring
objection.
it to us then, that's fine.
Okay.
Just bring it here, and then if you want to include city council in it, fine too.
I will say if the timing works for that to occur, I will do that. If in this kind of a situation where we're 3 weeks away from the meeting, and I couldn't get it on the agenda for this meeting last week, because of the change that was made yesterday, then I don't have any other option really than to get it to city council, who can then direct me that, and I can make
Bring it
revisions.
before us and we'll see where it goes from there.
Okay.
Okay, if time allows. Any other questions, comments?
No, I'm just, especially on the hockey thing, I think that's something that brings people to your town and is a showcase for things. So I hope that as we're talking with hotels and retail, that once that's approved, that becomes the number one thing that we put on it, flyers and things of that nature. Because, one tournament, that's multiple hotels, that's full restaurants, that's everything. So once that is approved, I'm sure the mayor will do a great job. He's done a great job with marketing and adding that sort of stuff into the Heritage Corridor and all that stuff. But I think that's the type of thing that really can change perception of an area quickly. So.
Well, Holiday Inn was already looking at expanding to another one, so.
We
that'll
met
probably
with somebody yesterday who has shown interest in doing that. Obviously, we're a long ways from interest to putting a shovel in the ground, but we have shared this hockey information out with a number of different people to let them know that we believe that it's coming. Now that they actually have a submittal in hand, it gives us a little bit more ammunition that we can share with people. But yes, it will certainly drive interest for restaurants and hotels and things like that, so.
Especially when the word gets out on just the hockey front. Like, if you ever been to some of these other hockey facilities, they're garbage. I mean, casting stones or anything, but thinking acid in particular.
The interior of these, I don't know if, I think we included it in your packet, but the interior includes a 2-story section. So there is a second story that includes a small little, kind of like nacho bar kind of thing that they can quickly heat up stuff. And then all the stands that come with that and are associated with it, so.
Any other questions or comments? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.